Okay, it looks like it's time to get started. Unless my partner in crime, Meredith from Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, has anything else we need to do, we're going to get started here. So I wanted to say aloha, everyone, and welcome to a special Maui CARES presentation hosted as part of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean speaker series. And we're all really excited that you're here. I'm Darla Palmer Ellingson from Island Environment 360 Radio and your co-MC with Akolu Lindsay. Tonight is a really special event. It's as much a celebration as a presentation of videos, photos, and stories of the accomplishment of more than 70 Maui and Molokai residents who are employed through Maui CARES funding to work at 7 local environmental and cultural nonprofits to make amazing things happen during the month of November. But first, just a few little things. You'll notice that your microphone is on mute. Please keep it on mute during the presentation to avoid distractions. To focus on each presentation, we're going to hold all of your questions until the end. However, if you think of a question as we move along, please do submit it using the Q&A feature. There's a question button on the lower edge of your screen. You might need to mouse over to be able to see it, or you can jot it down for later. And try and include who you want to address your question to. And now I'm proud to introduce you to Akolu Lindsay, your host for the main event of this evening. Akolu Lindsay is on the board of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council and is also the president of Maui Cultural Lands, an organization dedicated to the preservation of Hawaiian culture, archaeological sites, native plants, and the island's first people. Akolu played a pivotal role in bringing this Maui CARES funding to these 7 projects on Maui and Molokai through the Federal CARES Act. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Akolu.
Thank you, Darla. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a big mahalo to the County Maui Mayor's Office of Economic Development for all their hard work in getting the Federal CARES Act funding onto our community through the Maui CARES program. And also the team of the Office of Economic Development, which worked super hard to get many of the administrative steps completed in a super short time so that we can get the funding out to the benefit of our community and, give people jobs. I'd also like to acknowledge Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, who agreed to be the fiscal sponsor and grant administrator for this project. The Maui Nui Marine Resource Council staff, they worked hard, nights, weekends, days off, never stopped, and it was countless hours of the amount of work that we put in. It was an awesome team, and also wanted to mahalo the ultras at Simplicity HR to do the hiring of the unemployed and underemployed of about 70 people on Maui and Molokai very quickly so that they could go to work for the 7 nonprofit organizations you're going to be hearing about tonight. Ultras did an awesome job because it took away that HR burden that we didn't need to be responsible for. But, documenting this was super important for us because we needed to see and show everybody the work that was being done, to say that, look at what we did with the CARES funding, and hopefully be a model for many people in the future to take a look at what we've done and perhaps replicate that. Yeah. So you'll be seeing some premieres tonight, and thank you to Inflatable Films. Leah and Todd did an excellent job. I don't really think they knew what they were getting into. And at the end, what they produced was something that will pull on your heartstrings, and everybody will feel that tonight. And you're going to be seeing 3 films tonight, and just are short clips, and you get to stay in touch with the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council via social media and sign up for free newsletters, and you can learn more about future events because we're going to be rolling out a few more of those films a little later. So I want to get moving on. We've got a long night ahead of us. And our first organization I want to introduce to you is Kahunu Momona on Molokai. And I want to introduce Noelani. Go ahead, go for it, Noelani. Take this away.
Aloha mai kako. Welcome to our group today. I think that we're going to start with a video. Is that correct, Meredith? Mahalo nui to Leah and Todd for this video. Mahalo nui. We are in an interesting situation. We don't know who's watching, so we don't know who we're speaking to specifically, but I just want to say aloha to you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching that beautiful piece by Leah and Todd from Inflatable Film. Mahalo to Maui Nui Marine Resource Council for supporting, on behalf of all 7 of our organizations, for supporting this work, the Mayor's Office, Maui OED. We're so grateful for the support, anyone who had hands pushing and moving this project forward. I am so grateful. I think at Kahu no Momona, the parts that we try and emphasize through our programming is we take the best practices, seeds of the best practices from Western best practices, plant them in Hawaiian epistemological soil, and nourish them with love and the brilliance of our ancestors, and try and grow these new models, these new native models. And I think in this era of change and a move towards a more equitable society, these things are important. And while we're so grateful for the work that we were able to do this past fall and inspired by our 6 other partners' work that we got to see weekly, I would like to acknowledge that these were extraordinary groups doing extraordinary work. So when they talk about their work today, I want to say that we have more work to do to make our systems more equitable. And I think that has a lot to do with systems change. I do want to push our boundaries a little and say that I think that reimbursable contracts and grants, which our state and counties are usually doing, I think they're classist and racist. And I think they exclude many of the amazing, amazing grassroots populations that are doing just huge work with very little resources and funding. So I wanted to just recognize that tenuous balance while you're watching these pieces from these amazing organizations and these groups across our Pai'aina and especially Maui Nui. Thank you to all of our partners. I want to especially recognize the pieces that Leah and Todd so poetically captured in our piece, where we've tried to make major systems change through our Kupuna Council, sitting in parallel with our board of directors and our succession planning and next generation. My 2 crew leads were interns, former interns I had when they were teens and are now in their early 30s. So I'd like to thank my team leads, Tiani Cook and Matthew Tanielu, and my team, Keone Duffy, Micah Rollins, Kahikulani Pupuhi, Tiare Asuncion, Johnny Wise, and our Kupuna Council, Uncle Mac Poi Poi, Uncle Bobby Alkane, Auntie Vivian Ainoa, Uncle Mervyn Dudwa, and Uncle Saunoa Liva. The impact that we were able to make in such a short time was amazing, and their passion and love for the work was shown in everything that they were able to do. We also had community partners like Uncle Jimmy Duvashell and his family, and Dean Spencer and Brooke Pua'a, and many others from our community that helped support our work. We're so grateful. Thank you so much. Enjoy all of my partners' work through their presentations, and I will drop our nonprofit's email web address in case you have donations. Mahalo nui, aloha.
Hello, Noelani. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. You got some of those legends on film too, man. That is a timeless piece. And the audience should know that this CARES funding came through. We got the okay to go ahead and do this beginning October 1st. And it ran for 2 months, and we finished up the first week of December. So what you really got is 2 months of awesome work. And we didn't know what we were getting into, but I am super proud of the results of every single one of these guys. It is chicken skin moment for every one of them. So we're going to take you from Molokai all the way over to the east side of Maui to Maui Molokai with Auntie Claudia. She's not here with us this evening, but she did pre-record some stuff for us to enjoy. So go ahead.
Eia mo'olea, hana kaulana a ke kupuna. Velo mawana no na hanauna hou. Here stands Mo'olea, famed legendary place from the ancestors. enduring for generations to come. Namamo Mo'olea, the Heirs of Mo'olea, is a small community nonprofit organization that holds a 50-year lease from the County of Maui on approximately 75-acre parcel of coastal land that stretches along a rugged scenic shoreline in a remote part of East Maui. This land, Mo'olea Point, holds much cultural, historical, and biological significance. Most of the members of the all-volunteer board of directors of Namamo Mo'olea are descendants of the original Native Hawaiian landholders of the area, and they are passionate about fulfilling their kuleana to restore the aina of their ancestors to the abundance of former times. We strive to malama, honor, and conserve the historical and cultural landmarks of Mo'olea. As we honor the historical significance of the land, we cannot forget that Mo'olea is the ancestral land of Analea Ke'ohokalole, mother of King David Kalakaua and Queen Liliuokalani, and other siblings of the Kalakaua dynasty. This photo from the Bishop Museum was taken in 1888, just around the time that Kalakaua was king. Historical reportings say Kalakaua had a summer house on the Cape of Mo'olea. Blowing up the picture reveals the fields were nicely plowed, and several stately houses stood in the clearing where we call the upper pasture now. Looking closer, we can see that something looks like a flagpole, and the rock walls in the background are so familiar. But much more research is needed to place the exact location of the house. So this slide shows the approximate location of the Kalakaua house site. Just alongside of it, you see an ancient rock wall, and this wall is on the historical registry for the state of Hawaii. The CARES project has helped Namamo with essential first steps in honoring our aina. All of the work done during these 6 weeks helps us to convert an overgrown, weedy, former cattle pasture to a sustainable aina momona landscape of mixed native plants for the benefit and enjoyment of the local community, and to enhance our ongoing outreach opportunities to youth worldwide. In doing this, we honor the historical and cultural significance of this vahipana. Mowing these 20+ acres helps to keep the aggressive invasive plants from taking hold, at the same time allowing grass to reestablish and thrive. The rock wall was literally choking to death by invasive Christmasberry, inkberry, Java plums, banyan, lantana, and much, much more. Root systems destabilized the wall's foundation and damaged many areas of the wall. By clearing the wall, it can now be assessed for future restoration. Now that we can see the wall in its entirety, we are amazed but not surprised at the architectural expertise and ability of our ancestors. The undocumented heiau at Kanevai, which was noted in 2006 by esteemed Pacific archaeologist Dr. Patrick Vinton Kirsch as being of particular significance, is located in the area of Mo'olea called Kanevai. Residents from the 60s remember the heiau as an organized structure of stacked rocks with definable walls completely surrounding it. The heiau is now completely covered by overgrowth of hau trees, oleander, and haulikoa. Quite a bit of clearing was done by our crew, but work stopped when the obvious issues needed to be considered and consultants brought into to determine next steps. Some of the issues and lessons learned were: number one, the root system of the hull was entangled into the rocks to the point where it had destabilized the heiau foundation. Exposure to high surf could demolish the heiau, leaving the trees in could potentially protect it. Two, the heavy top of the hull could fall and rip out the root system and cause the heiau to collapse. And three, community members had issues about clearing the heiau. In discussions with them, all agreed to seek a more professional opinion and approach on next steps. Lastly, and by no means the least important of our project goals, was the need to mitigate exposure to feral cattle, pigs, and goats. Also important was the security for Mo'olea, as we maintain gathering areas, cultural sites, footpaths, and roads. Our CARES crew started the fencing project at the start of the 5th week. Several areas of the existing fence line were easily 50+ years old and in much disrepair. In 2 weeks' time, 2,000 feet of new hog wire fencing was complete. This slide shows the entire scope of work done during the 6 weeks that we were funded by the CARES Act. Now, Mama Mo'olea would like to mahalo Maui Nui Marine Resource Council in the County of Maui for accepting our application to be granted funding from the CARES Act. As recipients of these funds, Namama Mo'olea will enjoy long-term benefits of the project as it relates to our strategic plan to live and promote these values in our work to protect Mo'olea for current and future generations. Give thanks and give back. Ana lima, hilinai, kuleana, mahele, malamai ka'aina, and take only what the resources will sustain. Mahalo nui loa. Aloha.
Mahalo, Auntie Claudia. Beautiful presentation. You know, Auntie Claudia sets a level of integrity that we all aspire to reach and hopefully achieve and go beyond. So thank you for all of your hard work. And, you know, as you listen to these talks and move forward, take a look at the central themes of every one of these talks and videos that you will see. They're pretty consistent, and that's not done on purpose. It just happened that way because it's the kuleana that we have all accepted. And that word kuleana is very heartfelt to, as one of these central themes that you're going to be listening to. So we're going to stay on the east side and move on next to Kipuhulu Ohana. Go ahead, Scott.
Aloha Ikolu, mahalo, and good evening to everyone. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Kipuhulu Ohana, and let me see if I can get my screen sharing happening here real quick. All right, is that coming through for everybody? Ikolu, can you see that? I just want to make sure it's showing. Okay, thank you. All right, so aloha, presenting on behalf of Kipuhulu Ohana, which was one of the groups that received the CARES Act funding through this project, and was able to employ, to put 5 people to work at Kapahu Living Farm, which is our traditional wetland taro farm that we operate in cooperation with Haleakala National Park. And this is Auntie Tweedy, who was the supervisor for the project and the kupuna for the organization and for the farm, and source of wisdom and inspiration. And with the farm there behind her. And there were several different aspects within this time frame that we focused on working on, with having the resources available and the crew. This was the day when Inflatable Film was there, Leah and Todd, doing some filming with us, and was working in the taro patch, and a lot of Ekolu was mentioning, oh, this is Kamalani, who is one of our other workers. And Ekolu was just mentioning Kuleana, and this is our Na Kuleana sort of task board that was up, just to give you an idea. And a lot of what we had to do had to do with weeding, feeding, planting, and managing the water. The things that it makes to make the taro patch work and grow and thrive. And this is opening up some patches, tilling and getting them ready to plant. And then the big chore is just weeding, ongoing weeding. Kamalani and Auntie Tweedy in the patch, and Auntie Tweedy maintaining the waterway around the edge of the patch so the water can flow well, and just keeping the taro free of weeds. And in order to have a good wetland taro, you need a good steady supply of fresh cold water. So one of the other things that we did under this project was helping to maintain and do some improvements on our main water line, a 4-inch water line that brings water into the farm. This is the intake that's located at the old dam in Ohio Stream. And it's a siphon, so in order to get the pipe to flow, we have to fill it up first completely full of water, and then open it, and it's the siphon starts. So here Kai, who's one of our other workers, is just checking the intake to make sure the valve is closed for the pipe to be able to fill up. And then this is me letting some air out of the pipe. And Todd said, yeah, why don't you hit yourself in the face with some water while you're at it? It tends to be a wet job anyway, but we have to go along the whole pipe and let the air pockets out of the pipe so that it's completely filled with water before we open it up so it'll flow. So we're just working our way down and letting the air out, and you can see how the pipe is pressurized there. This is one of the places on the pipe where the HDPE Driscoll 4-inch comes together with a PVC that runs down into the farm, and you can't connect those two types of pipe directly with each other. So we had been having trouble with this connection, and one of the improvements we made with this was to put in this compression coupling and then stake the side of it so the pipe can't move, and then put the strap on it with a come along so it can't spread apart. So anyway, this little contraption here is one of the things that is necessary to keep the water flowing and keep the farm growing. And then when all of that is working right and you open the valve, then this is what you get. About a gallon a second of water flowing out from the pipe into the farm. Flows down the Auai towards the taro patch. And this is Sharon helping herself to some fresh ulu that's fallen from the tree. And then the water works its way down into the taro patch and circles around the outside of the patch and then works its way down from one patch to another all the way down through and then flows out back into the stream again at the bottom. And then one of the things, once you have the farm flooded and all the patches are filling up, then you also have to have a way for the water to get out. So maintaining the aowai is another important part of the process. So this is just opening up the main aowai that runs through the farm and weed eating around it to make sure that the water has a way to flow through all the way out and back down without stagnating and keeping the flow fresh, and that's important for keeping the taro healthy. And then another big part of what we did under this project was some tree trimming and tree removal. This is something that we'd been wanting to do for a long time, and this gave us the ability to accomplish this task. So Kai, who you saw earlier, he was our tree trimmer and arborist. So these 3 stumps, this is an older picture from when we had some kids up there from Hana School, but the 3 trees in the sunlight on the left are now the stumps in this photo here in the middle. So we were able to take those out because they're kind of dangerous hanging out over the area with coconuts on them. And so we wanted to clear those out and just make the area safe and also let more sunlight in so that it can get pretty muddy and swampy there. So then this is a ulu tree, which was really tall. I don't know how 100 feet or something tall. So most of the ulu at the top of the tree end up just getting wasted because by the time they fall, they just splat, and it's hard, even with the longest bamboo pole to try to cut, you only can get like halfway up the tree or not even. So we topped this tree, and in a short time, this will bush out again and fill in and be really productive. And then all the ulu will be within easy reach to harvest. Same thing here. Here's another one that was getting too tall, and we topped a couple of them. And then this is an ohia tree, mountain apple, which is also same thing. It was way too tall and kind of hard to harvest, all the ones at the top, so they'd end up going to waste. So we just brought that one down. It'll grow back really healthy and thrive, and all the fruit will be easy to harvest. The kids love it during the summer when they come and have some fresh mountain apple to eat. And so that's a basic summary of the tasks that we worked on within the project. And just want to say on behalf of the Kipuhula Ohana, mahalo to the CARES Act, to the County of Maui, the Mayor's Office, and the Office of Economic Development, Maui Marine Resources Council, and Inflatable Film for the support of this project and for letting us be part of this great team of organizations that all share this vision of Malama Aina and Kuleana. And so visit us at our website at kipuhulu.org for more information on all our other projects and activities. And with that, I'll hand it back to Ekolu.
Thank you, Scott. And I should make mention that this is under the CARES funding. This was the environmental sector. Under that, we were tasked with protecting coral reefs. It was through conversations with Dr. Bob Richmond on Oahu, who runs the Kewalu lab, that the idea spawned out that we should really take a look at what's happening on land to protect coral reefs. So every one of these projects was put into place to protect the reefs. With that said, we're going to be moving forward to the west side of Maui, to Kipuka Oluolu, where we have one of the most important reefs throughout Maui Nui. So we're going to let Mr. Dwayne Sparkman take that over. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Aloha. Hope you guys can see me. I'm just here hanging out of my house. Gonna have some fun here. We're gonna watch a little video first, and from there we're going to do some PowerPoints. So if you can roll that film, that'd be awesome. Nice. So that was a short little film we put together, actually Todd, and they put that. I'm still overwhelmed by how good that film is. So anyway, I can't even talk. But anyway, I've got to talk to you guys about a little bit more of what we did there as far as processing all of this. So I'm going to share my screen here, get this thing working for just a second. So give me a minute. All right, so you guys can see this is our Kipuka Oluwalu. The very first image here is actually an aerial image of the space as I was given to. I hadn't seen this in quite a while and was overwhelmed with the amount of work, but when I was given the chance to give 20 people some work and myself, and to be able to go through here and continue the legacy that was created by the Lindsay family, the Horcajos, it's really incredible to continue this legacy on. So I'm going to move on to the next image, which is actually only literally 2 weeks later. This is with 20 people. This is 2 weeks later. We were able to get it that clean in 2 weeks. And doing so, we were able to release a little bit more funds back to the kitty, and they could give some money back to the other groups, because I ended up only using maximum 17 people. When you have the opportunity to get paid to do something you love, you are more productive than you would ever be. So to see this happen, and this is what it looks like today. We've got our patches actually growing. We've got Kalo in. We actually have a lawn growing. We have a little cultural forest going in. So a lot of things are actually happening. The big blue thing is a tarp. That is not a pool. It's just a tarp there holding some soil down. It gets very windy in Oluwalu. So we're going to move on to the next image. This is our Loi area. This is what I saw when I first walked up. And this is incredible, because this is what it looks like today. Yeah, so and let me do you a favor real quick. I'm gonna go back, and this is what it looked like. And the guys walked up, and we couldn't see across this property, and this is what it looks like today. So for us to see this kind of an improvement with these guys, I mean, and girls, I mean, we actually had a 50-50 split of Kane and Wahine, and the age level was from youngsters to people in their 40s, and it was just an amazing culmination of the community. They could come together and make this project happen. This image here is our Hale Pa'iai. This is a little Hale Pa'iai off to the left. You can barely see it through all the rubbish, and this is what it looks like today. Picture was actually taken maybe 2 days ago. So we've cleaned up quite a bit to where you can actually see through this property, and we can take care of it. We have a little upcountry area we're creating here with some hapu'u ferns and some sandalwood, some ohielehua, some things like that. Let's see this image. This is our seed stock forest. We created a seed stock forest because we're pretty remote down here in the valley. And so we can actually grow plants down here and actually collect the seeds and save them and give them away as a hokupu to anybody who comes and visits us. So it's really neat. And this is what it looks like today. We've got it covered with bark mulch, and a lot of the plants have literally doubled, if not tripled in size in the past 2 months, 3 months, I'm sorry. I will list the plants. I'm only going to say this once because it's a long list of what's in this photograph, but let me list this off. These palms are from Nihoa. So Nihoa palms, so Prochardia remota. We have Kauaia, we have Carex, Ilima, Akia, Willy Willy, Pili grass, Mamake, Ho'ava, A'ali'i, the Hibiscus immaculatus from Molokai. We have Ule, we have Uki Uki, we have Ko'u, we have Milo, we have the Polyscius family in Pokalakala and Ohe. We also have Ohi Makai, Lama, Alahe'e, Kauila. We also have Nayo and Iliahe Aloy. So we're packing this little forest with species that will just basically blend together and become a nice symbiotic little forest, nice and tight. So it's kind of fun. Best part, surrounded by all the canoe plants. We have Maya, we have Niu, we have all of our Ulu and Noni right behind us. So it's really cool seeing all of this right here. This image here, this is us as a group actually rebuilding walls, picking out the ili rocks and pulling weeds inside of our lo'ikalo, preparing for the planting. So, and this is in October of 2020. We have some more of us working together here in the lo'ikalo doing the same thing. We did rotor tilling and cleaning up the lo'ikalo, getting it prepped, and then move forward to actually planting. This is good fun with the guys making the straight lines. We want to make sure this is really nice. So if you notice, we get two people over here pointing finger because they want to make sure it's straight lines. So it's very important. Notice we have a rope too. So it's very important for us to get straight lines on this kalo patch. We don't want any problems with these things. We want to look nice from a long way away. So that's the plan. And this is what it looks like today. So we have a nice little patch of kalo growing. This is Maui kalo that we've put in here. This is a donation from one of our farmers just up the road. So all of our kalo's been donated, minus a handful of our first patch of dryland kalo that went in. And all of that was actually collected from Oluwalu Valley, about 2.5 miles in the valley. We found a bunch of kalo and collected a bunch of ohana and brought them back, and we've planted them. And they're some of the best kalo we have growing in the dryland patch so far. Pretty cool seeing that happen. We were also able to purchase material to build some planting tables so we can have space to actually grow out some of this material and have space to store material before we have volunteers come in and actually install it for us. So really cool stuff happening on this planter table. I know some of you guys will recognize some of these plants, and it's really cool seeing this stuff come up. Something else we did is we did some sunflowers. Hey, we got to do an agricultural spot. So as part of the economic development, we taught some irrigation installation and some basic agriculture, how to pot up plants, how to mix soils, what's supposed to go in there. And this is the best part about it, you guys. It's organic. We are not using any pesticides. We're not using any herbicides. We're going 100% safe. There's nothing going to be put on the reef from this project because we are not going to use chemistry on this acreage. It's not necessary. This is a manual property. We're going to use a lot of hands, La Lima, putting hands together, putting them in the ground, making them work. Okay, we're also using a lot of bark mulch, so it's pretty cool. This is an interesting one because it hasn't ever had this down here, but actually this grass right here is a lawn that we installed. This is all sub-irrigated through drip irrigation fed from the river, and we can turn it off for a week and it'll hold moisture, and I can soak it for maybe 2 or 3 hours and turn it off for a week. This thing's amazing. And this thing grew in a matter of a couple weeks because it's getting river nutrients. This is actually a lawn so we can do games and stuff and have a place for our hula dancers to come in and actually do stuff here right on this lawn. So it's really exciting. I do got to say, I got to say thank you to the Office of Maui Economic Development. I've also got to say thank you to MNMRC, our Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, along with the CARES Act funding. I mean, holy cow, to get paid to do this stuff is amazing. These guys just loved this type of work. So we're just excited to be a part of this. I know that the people that got paid to do this were so blown away to get paid to do it, and we want to do it more. We need funding to continue to do this work, and it's critically important. These people need to have funding to do the right type of work, and this actually, you get, like I said, it's more productive to pay the people. So it's cool. So I just want to say thank you and aloha.
Thank you, Dwayne, for that inspiration and all the cool plants. And this CARES funding, part of the CARES funding project was workforce development. So it's taking people who are out of work and train them. And part of the training at Kipuko Oluwalu, as you can see, was with a lot of plants, medicinal plants, understanding the importance of hydrology, irrigation, laying down weed mats, layering of soil. So they did learn a lot. And I got to tell you, having been up there, seeing these guys on break when the sun gets hot because they're there almost all day, they're taking break alongside the stream, and they're learning oli. They're learning cultural resources and the importance of the many facets that are associated with it. And it's not just at Oluwalu, but at all projects this was occurring. So thank you for that wonderful presentation, Dwayne. So we're going to move on back to the east side. We're going to go over to Kenai with a group called Namoku Aupuni o Ko'olau Poko. So go ahead, Nicole and Junior.
Aloha. Let me get my screen up. All right. Aloha, my name is Nicole Inohara, and I have Jerome Kikivi Jr., our president of Namoku Aupuni o Ko'olau Hui, with me today.
Hello, everybody. We are Namoku Aupuni Oko'ola Hui. Our mission is to ensure due respect for the culture of the Kanaka Maoli of Kianai, Wailuanui, Aupua'a. Social, economic, scientific, literary, charitable, historical, spiritual, educational, traditional, and environmental purposes. We develop self-government for their aspirations and to assist them in progressive development as it relates to self-determination and the cooperative management of natural resources. We enhance, preserve, and protect the quality of life and environment for the descendants and tenants of Kianai, Wailuanui, Aupua'a. And this is our presentation.
Oops. Okay, so our goal for our Ko'olau watershed project was to make sure our streams are adequately maintained and flowing, as well as collecting accurate data to be able to present to our farmers, the appropriate audiences, and the general public in a useful way. We were able to employ 12 of our community members to make up 2 teams. We had 8 field technicians, 2 supervisors, a data coordinator, and a project manager.
So we get some pictures here of us clearing debris that we have to, the trails and the Hawaiis were all closed up, and we had to cut our way to the to the po'o, to the main source of the water, waterways. And some pictures here you can see shucks, we actually helped some of the farmers open up their OI systems that was closed for who knows, maybe 10, 20 years maybe. But what else we get? Well, we get some of the guys walking, busing trails over here. What else we get, Nicole?
So we had like some of the trails to get to our streams. We had some landslides and some fallen trees and stuff like that. So our crew had to go out there and clear those trails so that we could get to all of our streams. So we were fortunate to be able to create some relationships with different water professionals. We met up with one of the Commission of Water Resource Management technicians, and he taught us how to measure volume in our streams. We were also able to tag along with USGS, and they showed us what they're monitoring and measuring with their equipment. And we were also able to work with UH Maui and work with one of their interns, and she taught us about collecting or measuring water quality in our streams and down at our lo'is. With the information we got from the different experts, we were able to start collecting our own data. So in these photos, this is us doing our measurements for our streams. An important tool we used throughout the project was this app called Aina Nerds. With this app, we were able to store all of the data that we collected in the field, pinpoint our location for mapping, take pictures of the different surroundings that we're seeing, attach it to that point, add descriptions of what we're seeing in that area. And this app is pretty much like a one-stop shop for data collecting. In this slide, so once we were able to collect our data and store it in the app creates these graphs for us and did all of the math calculations for us and gave us all of this data. So we're able, and another fortunate thing is that we're able to click on the links in the resource column to give us some historical data from the past and the present, so that we can compare what we've been measuring to what USGS and the Water Commission is measuring. So in this slide, I'm showing you what our measurements were for our volume in this particular stream. In this slide, it shows us our water quality data when we hover our cursor over one of the points in the map, it'll give us all of our data that we inputted for that specific stream. All of our dashboards were customized for our needs, and so that when we log into our app, we're able to see all the important information for us. The best thing about this was that we were able to use it offline because we're in a very remote area, and we don't have we don't have really good internet service where we're at. So we're still able to input all of our data and have our data pushed to the app when we are back in an internet service area, so that we can see everything either on our phones or our computers. Throughout this project, we were able to learn from each other because we have a lot of people who grew up in Wailuanui and Ke'anai, and some of us who haven't been able to grow up out there. We are able to learn a lot about our streams, the connections between each stream to each other, and where they're going from Malka to Makai. And we learned a lot about the importance of those connections. We are also able to learn from a lot of all the water experts along the way. We are also able to collect a lot of valuable data for our community. And our future plans are to continue to collect water data, maintain our trails and streams. I would just like to mahalo nui, Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, the County of Maui, OED. We are so grateful and appreciative for this opportunity. Mahalo for listening to our presentation. Aloha.
Yeah. Mahalo, Nicole and Junior. Appreciate you guys, all the work you guys did. You guys were tasked with one of the hardest ones because you had to build internal capacity in measuring water. You guys are one of the few local groups that I know of that took on that task to increase your capacity in learning. And you guys in the audience out there, if you are concerned about your water, you should probably look into what you can do to measure it and stop relying on other people's measures. Measure your own. But gotta be honest, looking cheap, right? Have to maintain the level of integrity that I talked about earlier with Auntie Claudia. So thank you again, Auntie Claudia. So we're gonna be moving on to our next presenter. We're gonna stay on the east side. We're gonna go to an organization called Keauhali'i, Uncle John Irish. Go ahead, John. You gotta excuse some of the lag time. East Maui guys, they don't actually have the best service. So you might, hopefully this will all work out though. So go ahead, John.
Okay, mahalo Maui Molokai Resource Council for providing the CARES funds to Keauhali'i. Aloha kako. My name is Irish. I am with the nonprofit group Keauhali'i, Save the Hana Coast. We are from Hana Maui. We're involved with the protecting the coastal lands in Hana and preserving the lands for future generations forever. This is Mokai. Keauhali'i, along with the Hana community, became the land stewards last year in March 2020. This was our first land acquisition obtained through the Maui County Open Space Funds and State Legacy Land Conservation Program. The beauty of the land is self-evident and speaks for itself. The land was previously used by the sugar plantations and used for cattle grazing by Hana Ranch. The land has feelings, and mana comes from the land. Our kupuna ancestors roamed, lived on these lands, and are buried here. There are still cultural and historical areas on the land. However, most areas were destroyed by the previous landowners. Our main objectives for Mokai using the CARE project funds were removal of invasive weeds, rock wall fence clearing and repairs, and GPS training and mapping. The invasive weed condition was identified by the Hana Ranch manager as the condition that affects all the ranch pasture lands that is getting worse and spreading rapidly. Immediate attention was required to prevent the overgrowth of the weeds in the pasture land. This is our first day of work with one of our board members and the cultural descendant of the land conducting our safety briefing. You can see the weed eaters on the bottom, the safety equipment that was provided to the workers. There were several of the board members that attended the briefing because we wanted to emphasize safety. We are proud to say that no one on the project had any injury as a result of working on the land. Included in the briefing was a cultural and historical briefing and walkthrough of the land so that the workers understood the significance of the land and what the land meant to the cultural descendants of the property. The next pictures we have is about the invasive weeds that we encountered on the property. There were several that grew throughout the property. We did not really notice them until it was brought to our attention, and then we could see how significant the spread was. This is a workday with our community that we conduct every month, and the focus is on, and you can see the before and after condition of the property as a result of the hard work. Again, the weeds that we encountered, that was prevalent all over the property. The main weed that we encountered was the cockleburr, which has seeds on them, and every seed that is on the plant has the potential to develop into a fully grown plant. This is turkleberry, and that's a pilau plant that is very hard to work with, to get rid of, and you need to get them in the young stages before it becomes a large plant with many berries. This is the removed cockleburr plant, and you can see all the brown seeds. Initially, our plan was to go and dry the plant and burn them in place, but we found out that was not effective for the seeds. So we then had to collect the cockleburr and place them on tarps and remove the cockleburr with the tarps so that the seeds could be collected. Because of our failure to do that, we had to follow up with the crew to go hand pick each of the seeds that fell to the ground until we developed a more efficient method of removing the cockleburr. We had a picture of some of the crew members. We had 10 applicants that applied for the work, and we hired 8 of them. 2 were high school students, 1 girl who was a junior and 1 boy who was a senior in high school. The other 6 were Hana residents, 5 male and 1 female. This is our youngest member of the crew, and these are just pictures of some of the crew following the protocol of the coronavirus while it was working. We chose to hire a diversified group with various experiences and skills. The first thought was get our best money for the bucks and hire all proficient land workers. However, discussion, it was determined that We needed to look at the future. We needed to look at different type of people. And we hired from fully skilled and experienced to those that never worked on the land, like this girl. She never did work on the land, but she came very efficient and was very verbal in her experience dealing with the land. We wanted them to learn not only the work, but we wanted them to understand and experience the land and know what land conservation was about. And hopefully the return that we will get is that they will have a kuleana and feel responsible for the land and come back to the land and check on what the status of the work they've done and continue to work on the land on their own. And most of them have told us that they will come back and check and continue to work the land. This was the best method we found for removal of the cockabur. We tried all kinds of different methods, but the basic method of head down or kolehap always works. And that's the most efficient way of removing the weed. Poison, burning, those are okay processes, but this is the answer for taking on their challenge. We had several volunteers that worked alongside of our work crew. Several were on a daily basis. This is one of them, attending our GPS training that we had a volunteer, Kia Ibastamenti, that came on the land and provided GPS training to the crew. It's an investment we feel that we use as we continue to execute our management plan in the future and help us to plot and map out our lands to identify significant areas and areas that we can account for and follow up on the efficiency of the work progress. I mentioned volunteers, and I mentioned community work days. We do community work days monthly, and it's been pleasing that different people turn out to do the work. And again, we focus on the cockabur. Right now, we're started. This is one of the volunteers working with the piles of cockabur in preparation for. At this time, we was going to burn it, but after that, we learned that it was more efficient to remove them and haul them away for disposal. The volunteers provided a lot of their own tools that besides their time and equipment and material to support the project. This was before we had funding to purchase the tools. We're fairly new. This is our first time around in having a workforce. So we kind of had to start off from scratch. And we now, because of the funds that was provided, we have a tool shed of tools that are available for work on the land. We have saws, we got weed eaters, we got hand tools, all the stuff that you need to work on the land. And that is mahalo to the funds that was provided in addition to the funds for the work. This is the guy we wanted to hire for work, but he never did show up there. We mahalo Maui Molokai Resource Council for providing the funds that they gave to Ke'aohali'i for the workers to work on the land and the tools, equipment, and materials to accomplish the work. But of most importance was that we mahalo them for giving Ke'aohali'i the incentive and the urgency for the opportunity to actually execute our land management plan. We had talked and planned what to do, but never actually did it. Because of the funds that we obtained, we did it, and now we know how to move forward with experience that was provided to our management and our board of directors. Mahalo.
And then we
Mahalo,
also
Uncle
have
Irish.
one other little short video we wanted to show too of the rock wall. So real quick, I'll play that.
Okay.
Debris, all the bushes around the This is where the grant money went, doing a lot of hard work on the Aina. Just wanted to share what the grant money has done for this Aina here in Samoa. A lot of hardworking boys working the Aina right now. Currently, they're clearing out all the debris, all the bushes around the rock wall. Much appreciate the hard work. So this rock wall was pretty much all covered with a lot of debris, a lot of trash, and bushes. Just wanted to share with the donators of what the funding has been used for. And pray for future grants for sustainability and keeping the Aina pristine.
All right, that was Auntie Mary, one of our board members.
Thank you, Scott. I don't know if you guys caught that, but Uncle Irish said forever. And he went on to discuss the people that they hired and the diversity, creating that succession plan that all of us have to think about as we move up in life. So it's awesome that these young students got to experience what it's like to remove invasive species, create and have good work ethic to get that kind of work done, because it's not easy. But it is that kuleana that we have all accepted, and they got to get paid for it too. So they learned something and made a little something too, and hopefully have increased their workforce development, and so they can find other jobs. All right. So thank you again for the wonderful presentation. And thank you everybody for hanging in there. I know it's been a long time, and apologies again for the technical glitches that's been happening. We don't have smooth videos. Hopefully this last one will go really smooth. So we're gonna go back to Central Maui with the Hawaiian Island Land Trust, and we'll have Makana and Scott Fisher do the presentation for them. Mahalo.
All right, well, I can kind of give a quick overview of kind of what we saw and kind of our goal and intention. Basically, our goal is to heal and restore the land and improve resilience to climate change and other natural disturbances. Of course, resilience is just the ability of an ecosystem to absorb any type of shock to it. And so, you know, these are things like big storms and tsunamis. We know those things will get more frequent as sea levels rise and the planet warms. So our goal is basically to, you know, restore degraded ecosystems and strengthen the relationships within the community. That's our primary goal. So, you know, our recognition is that Malama Aina leads to a sense of Aloha Aina. And so our goal is ultimately in this Kalepa stream restoration is to protect the coral reef. The coral reef is our protection against against big storms and large waves that would erode the coastline. And so the work basically involved removing the la'au opala, you know, getting the invasive species out. The particular plant you saw in there was napier grass, or Pennisetum purpureum, a very aggressive grass species originally from Africa. And so we want to get that out. What we also are, the second phase of the project that unfortunately we couldn't start because of delays in getting the material, is to install sediment retention barriers, coconut coir rolls. And in addition to that, while we're doing that, we'll also be planting native sedge species that would have been appropriate to that area, particularly ahuava, an indigenous sedge. So the result, as you could see in the video, is regular stream flow. Regular stream flow is restored. We're seeing a reduction in sedimentation. We'll be actually measuring that. We recently applied for a grant to be able to measure exactly how much, so we can quantify that figure of reduced sediment discharge into the ocean and onto the reef. I think the most gratifying aspect of this work was the enthusiasm of those who were conducting it. As you saw, Kia'i and Kawai, but every single person who gave their all. It was very challenging work. You know, oftentimes you're wet. Most of the time you're wet. You're working in very harsh conditions, very difficult conditions. But I think the enthusiasm that the workers showed is a testament to the deep sense of aloha aina that really comes from caring for the land. And so that was the takeaway message that we really learned, and that it really achieved our goal of healing the land and healing the people. I'll turn it over to Makana now, my coworker.
Aloha nui and Makana. That was Scott Fisher. I don't know if he had a chance to introduce himself, but he's our Chief Conservation Officer at Hawaiian Islands Land Trust. And I am the Director of Aina Connection. And then it was also integral having James Crow, our Land Stewardship Manager, as a part of the HILT team to coordinate this effort. MNMRC provided HILT with about 21 positions over the course of that 2-month span that we were able to bring on at Waihe'e, and along with another organization, Hanona, we brought on an additional 11. And so total on site at Waihe'e during that time, as a result of this Maui County funds, we had 32, and the teams that we had were Team Kalepa, Loulu, Hala, Anapanapa, Ahu'awa, and Team Naio. And each team had about 5 to 7 total. And so you got to see Team Kalepa there in the Gulch. And Kia'i, who you got to hear from during that video, we were really fortunate enough to be able to secure the funds for the year to be able to keep Kia'i on full time, and he's going to serve as our main Waihe'e steward and be able to live on site there at Waihe'e. And we're really excited to have him on board, and we really got to meet Kia'i as a result of this program. So we just want to thank Maui County, OED, MNMRC, Hanona also, and then Leah and Todd for the wonderful video. And anyone who wants to learn more about HILT and the work we do across the Pai Aina, not just on Maui, you can visit us at our website, hilt.org. We're on Facebook at Highland Trust and Instagram at Highland Trust. Mahalo.
Thank you, Scott and Makana. So that was kind of the end of the presentations. Got a couple more things we wanted to, before we wrap up, about some of the central ecological themes and weeds, invasive species, and the mitigation of those things, and the many challenges faced with taking care of this stuff. Some of the cultural themes is kuleana, right? We accept this kuleana, and this is the first time for me anyway, was that we're able to get paid to accept that kuleana. So it makes that work much more meaningful to go do what you would normally do for volunteering and get paid for that. I can do way more work, right? So the other things is ohana, working with your family and creating ohana, a new ohana, as well as kokua, taking care of things without reciprocation because you want to, because it's your kuleana that's been accepted. So thank you all for listening. I want to kind of just turn this back over to Darla for a few other things that we need to run through. Go ahead, Darla. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for wrapping that up, Ikolu and Scott and Makana and all the presenters. Very, very powerful presentation. Mahalo. And so we were kind of answering questions behind the scenes as we went along. So we're just going to wrap up here. And I've been asked to share a little bit. It's actually the last stanza of an inspirational poem called Earthwise by Amanda Gorman, our nation's youth poet laureate. We relish the view. We witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Open your eyes. Know that the future of this wise planet lies right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this earth uprising. All of us bring to light exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an earth more than worth fighting for. And again, that was from Our Purpose in Poetry or Earthwise by Amanda Gorman, just an amazing poet laureate. So moving on, just to close up, again, we'd like to thank Mayor Victorino and the Office of Economic Development for the Maui CARES funding that put more than 70 of our residents to work and supported such worthwhile projects. And thank you also to Maui Nui Marine Resource Council for serving as the grant administrator and fiscal sponsor for these 7 nonprofit projects, and for hosting tonight's evening. To learn more about Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, sign up for their free e-newsletter, and to donate, please visit mauireefs.org. If you enjoyed tonight's presentation, we'll be posting it tomorrow on Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's Facebook page, so please share it with others who may be interested. I will also be doing some follow-up interviews with the 7 presenters from tonight's program on Island Environment 360 Radio, which airs Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on Coney 104.7, KROC 97.3, KRYL 106.5, Retro 102.1. And finally, Maui Nui Marine Resource Council will be holding another Know Your Ocean Speaker Series event on February 10th, featuring Scott Fisher of Hawaiian Islands Land Trust that you heard from a bit tonight. And Scott will speak about research on the link between paleoecology, which is the understanding of pre-human terrestrial coastal ecology, and ecological resilience. So please sign up for the free newsletter Reef and Brief at mauireefs.org and follow Maui Nui Marine Resource Council on social media so you'll receive all the info about future events. Thank you everyone so much for joining us this evening. On behalf of myself and Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, have a good night. Bye everyone.